Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats. We've been featuring some of the best early childhood programs in San Antonio. Today on our blog and on the social media, we're featuring University Presbyterian Children's Center. And this is kind of a full circle moment for me because my own kids went to UPCC when they were little, but that's been over 10 years ago. And it feels really good to bring my family life and my work life together and to be able to feature UPCC on SA Charter Moms and Charter Moms Chat. So let me introduce our guests. So we have the director, Cindi Catlin-Gaskins, and we have assistant director, Sandy Stout, both from University Presbyterian Children's Center. So thanks for joining me on Charter Moms Chats.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, well, first of all, for maybe people who haven't heard of UPCC yet, can you talk about like the mission and vision, like how it got started?
Okay, UPCC started in 1971 predominantly as a part-time, part-day program, and over the years, of the past 52 years, it's become a full-day, full-time, but we still honor the part-time options for those families that are wanting that. So that is what we're about. And it's a high quality NAYC accredited learning center for young children and families.
That's great. Thanks, Cindy. Okay, so the questions that often come up with families is they want to know like what age ranges and how which days of the week and what hours and things like that. So Cindy, can you kind of give an overview of that? And I just want to encourage folks, there's more detail on the blog and there's also more detail at the UPCC website. But if you can just give folks an overview.
Okay. So for our infants and young toddlers, the children that are 2 months old by the start of our school year, so that's the June 30th of each school year cutoff, the children that are infants and then toddlers, like up to about 18 months, they can attend 1 day a week, 8:45 to 3:15. But honestly, they do better if they come more than 1 day a week, on up to the 5 days. And for we do have the 5 days, 7:30 to 5:30. And then we have for the toddlers through preschoolers, we have the option of the minimum of 2 days a week from 8:45 to 12:30, or extending the hours to 3:15 and coming as early as 7:30, staying as late as 5:30. So there's the option of doing 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days with a variety of schedules. It's kind of like a cafeteria. You get your main course and then you add from there. Predominantly, our families are 4 or 5 days a week. Most of them do attend a full day. And then back in 2019, the year before the pandemic, we were maxed out in our spaces and we couldn't enroll new children for the summer. And so we started an outdoor school age program. And Sandy actually is the administrator of that. And I'll let her highlight what the ages are of that.
Yeah, so we have, it's called SOIL, for School Age Outdoor Investigational Learning. It is for children ages 5 through 9. And we pretty much run like our regular time frames of our regular program. We have the same 8:30 to 3:15, but then we also offer the 7:30 to 5:30. And we spend 70% of our day outdoors though. So that's the one difference. We really value the outdoor learning, and we thought getting the kids that are in classrooms all school year long outside in the summer was valuable for them. So we use different spaces on our campus to get them outside all summer.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Thanks, Sandy, for explaining about the outdoor learning. And actually, that segues into my next question, which is, I know you guys sent me these amazing photos. It's fun to see how the playgrounds have evolved since my kids were there. I mean, my kids love the playgrounds. We had a great time, but they look so different because it's all natural materials. And anyway, I'll let you all explain. But can y'all talk more about the Explorer's Yard and the Little Explorer's Yard? I'll put the slides up on the screen.
Okay. And I'll give an overview of the spaces, and then I'll let Sandy chime in probably more on the curriculum and things like that. And then she'll explain what happens for the school agers. So here we have an overview of the Explorer's Backyard. We've been very, very fortunate in the years that the school's been open that the church has always given us this huge outdoor space. So this is an overview of the Explorer's Backyard, which is for the children that are 2.5 to 5 years old. And these are Nature Explore outdoor classrooms that are certified, meaning that the learning that happens inside is also planned for and implemented outside. So you have the different spaces. We have from mud kitchen to a tree log to loose parts, which is building materials. And we even have like a river as well. So if you want to go to the next slide, I can highlight what that is. So this is the river. And it's just a few, maybe an inch deep, but it gives the opportunity of the children to explore in wet sand and the water. And in the summer, it is the #1 place to go, which is because it's hot, but also gives the children the opportunity to dam up areas and explore the movement of water. Again, it's not deep. It's just really wet sand. And if you want to go to the next one of the Explorer's Backyard, this is a highlight of really that all the learning that happens inside can be outside. So this is a little reading area. It often changes where it is located on the outdoor space, but a quiet area to sit and look at books and talk with a friend. So if you think of a traditional preschool classroom, that you see the block area and you see the dramatic play and you see the music as well as the reading area and art areas, all those are represented outside in both of our outdoor spaces with that. So we can go to the Little Explorer's Yard. So this is the entryway to the Little Explorer's Yard. And one of the things with the Nature Explore outdoor classrooms is that there's a defined welcoming entry space. So this is where the infants and toddlers, one of the pathways they take to the outdoor space. And you highlight the little house there. It actually, what we call it is the art studio. So they'll do art experiences in their finger painting, collaging, and things like that for the children that are under 3. And then the next one is just an overview. And the reason I included this one is these are our infants that are outside. And with children that are under 2, wherever there is a teacher, typically there are the children. And so even our 2-month-olds are going outside. And we have extensive shading because of trees. And so the teachers often put the blankets and quilts under the tree area in the soft grassy area or the mulch for the infants to explore. And as they start to turn over and crawl away, then they explore more on their own. And so I'll let Sandy now highlight how the school agers in the soil program use these outdoors. Oh, there's the mud kitchen. So both of the outdoor spaces have what we call a mud kitchen or a mud diner. And originally this was a fire truck, Inga, when probably your children were here. And then it needed some repairs and things like that. And we turned it into the mud diner. And so the mud kitchen is the children have access to wet sand, water, and then sometimes soil will add. And the water source is far away with the idea that a full bucket of water is much heavier than a small bucket of water. And so the children, just like some of us maybe did in our childhood, making mud pies and cupcakes and soup and macaroni in these mud kitchen areas with materials from a kitchen, the metal cupcake pans and the bowls that families recycle with us. And so now Sandy can highlight what the school agers do with the space.
Yeah, so the school agers use the Explorer's Backyard when all of our regular preschool and younger children are doing nap time. The older children go out and utilize the larger playground. It's really neat to see them. Most of them have grown up in our program, and so it's really neat to see them come back as older kids and how they utilize the different areas, from playing in the river again, but at a different level than what maybe our preschoolers do. As Cindy talked about the engineering of the ways the water moves and things like that, watching them kind of navigate those at a different level, those types of skills. But then also maybe just climbing in the trees on our tree climber area and just talking the afternoon away with one of their friends. So it really is just a different level of play that we get to see with those school agers outside. But yeah. So that's the river area that Cindy had mentioned, that they, kind of just do some different levels of play there. Thanks, Cindy.
There, we're back. Okay.
So when we added the mud kitchens and we added like the tree climber and things like that, there were less accident reports from the outdoor space. And you think, oh my gosh, they have a tree they can climb. But we as adults don't put the children up on the tree climber unless they can get up there on their own. And there's some specific rules with that. So, and then with the mud kitchen and mud diner, that was the first part we implemented. The level of frustration and children kind of being angry at each other just basically disappeared. And I think it is that medium of the wet sand and water. But I noticed that as an administrator, just because I was signing less accident reports, or there was less, children getting in conflict out there as well. And plus, the adults enjoy it too. They're always enjoying some macaroni and cheese.
Yeah. It's great. It's timeless. It's okay. So I remember, I think in the time frame when my kids were at UPCC, there was a lot of professional development going on that like Sandy and her colleagues were going, like, I remember like one of the teachers came back with like a ball that looked like polished like porcelain, but it was just made out of mud. Like it was unbaked and it was incredibly smooth. And the teacher talked about the process of making. Sandy, was that you? Did you have one of those balls? Okay. Yeah, that was really cool.
On sand globes, creating sand globes. Yeah, and you can actually look that up online. The guy that does it, he does them all over the world. But yeah, so that's a process we did with the children in creating these spheres of sand that you could stack on each other, create things out of. Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can do with like really basic natural materials. And then, Sandy, that's so interesting. Or Cindy, it's so interesting that actually less conflict, that, be able to, interact with the natural materials and having like a collaborative purpose that they can do together. Like, okay, we're doing make-believe with food, but it's mud and we can be messy. We have permission to be messy. I mean, I remember getting the notes of like, okay, send your kids in swim clothes on a certain day, right? Like the water play days. And my kids always looked forward to those.
Yeah, definitely. And so that's when families tour the program. I do schedule them now because of the pandemic when the class is outside, so that then easily we can go into the classroom. And families are welcome on campus again, but also to show the play that goes on outside. But I do mention the wet sand and the mud, so families know up front that, you send extra clothes and mud shoes and things like that.
Yeah. Just know what the expectations are, but the kids are going to come home dirty but happy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wanted to touch on something in the blog post, like when our writer, talked to you all that, finding out about. So the teachers at UPCC are very experienced, and sorry, one of my son just got home, so we have a little background noise. So, okay,
real life.
So experienced teachers, and they're always trying to create more curriculum that is developmentally appropriate for the students. So I was wondering, can you all comment more about the experienced teachers, like small class sizes, and then how you make the curriculum developmentally appropriate?
Okay, I'll go into the class sizes and I'll let Sandy do the developmentally appropriate curriculum. For the preschool, I'll talk infant and toddler, but because we are NAEYC accredited, which are high quality standards that are set nationally based on research, our ratios are much lower than a licensed center in Texas, which all centers are required to be. So we have 2 or 3 teachers in our infant and toddler classrooms. The ratios range from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. And we've gone to the 3rd teacher because you can meet the individual needs of the classes better. And then in our preschools classrooms, we have 1 to 7 rather than accreditation allows the 1 to 10. And licensing actually requires like 1 to 18. So we like having 2 teachers per room. just with the balance and meeting the needs of the children, the support of each other, of two teachers in a room. With that, for the infant and toddler curriculum, our goal, our mission is to work with the children and families as they transition to another environment outside of the home. And looking at the family and the individual needs of the child developmentally, because we know that not all children walk on day one of 12 months. Some do at 9 months. And we're finding since the pandemic, some children, it's much later. That was an impact of the pandemic. And so meeting the individual needs of the child developmentally, based on their individual needs. And then we know developmental stages of toddlers, 1-year-olds are very different from 5-year-olds. And then the cultural values and expectations of individual families. So that's the developmentally appropriate. And then Sandy was our pre-K teacher for 25 years, maybe, before she came into the office. So she really is the pre-K guru.
To speak about the curriculum, I think, the same levels of meeting the kids and the families where they're at that we do with our infants and toddlers is also necessary with our preschoolers, because they're all developing differently as well. And I think that's the beauty of what UPCC allows is the teachers, we don't have a set curriculum that has to be done. We don't have certain monthly things that have to be accomplished. It's really based on the individual children in your class, the needs that are needing to be met. So each teacher is able to build on the strengths of their own skills, but then also the children in their class and the interests of the children in their class. And so that's how we kind of differentiate our curriculum for each child to meet their needs.
Yeah, my recollection as a parent was that I always appreciated the feedback I got, and I get the sense that it's a good. Well, I think having that student-teacher ratio, that the teachers get to know each student really well, and like Sandy said, differentiating the curriculum. It's like that's how you can tell, if a child is making progress. Like it's you can figure out where they're at, give them something. It's just a little bit of a stretch, whether it's like, okay, I need you to hold the pencil this way, or let's do this activity. And then that's like through knowing the students so well, and then like as parents, we get so much helpful feedback, and then we're able to supplement or get more resources in the community so we can help our children develop and be ready for kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. Very much so, and it's just working with each individual child, but each family, that they come as their own little unit, and so different expectations with different families, and the parenting journey is the hardest one out there. And we're not given instruction books. And so we walk along with families through that process. They may want their child to be writing at age 2 or reading at age 3. Most children are not ready for that at that time. So even toilet learning, some children just aren't quite ready at 15 months when maybe 50 years ago somebody was potty trained back then. So it's walking with families and when their child's ready, and then also finding ways to challenge children individually.
Yeah. And kids they need to have plenty of time to play, because that's at that age, that's how they learn, and and how they build friendships and social skills with their classmates too.
And that's what they take into their future learning, and that curiosity, that wonder, that instilling the love of exploration. And it's okay to ask questions, that there's not necessarily a certain way to do things. And then they take that into their future, elementary school years and high school.
Yeah. Another thing about the blog post that I thought was a really good thing to point out about UPCC is the sense of community, and how the families integrate with each other, and how there's I remember pick up and drop off. There's always parents chatting outside, and grandparents, and then there's always events and traditions, like things that happen every year.
Yes, and so I call it the after school party. And when you were here, we had the picnic tables in the grassy area. And during the pandemic, that disappeared because we were taking children to the cars. And what a family enrolled here, having heard about being with families out on the picnic tables. And so the 12:30 departure and the 3:15 and the 5:30 departure, families gather there and have a snack or maybe even dinner, and the children play. But most importantly, the families or the parents or the caregivers, sometimes there's grandparents out there. This year, there's like two dads that hang out. They're picking up their children at 3:15 and they're just, chatting away while the little ones play. And so that disappeared, and this family was real frustrated. But over the past year and a half, the after-school gathering has reemerged. And so that's very key in our program, and it's just how we're set up, that it's a grassy area off of the parking lot that you can see. As far as other school culture parts, predominantly families value nature. And so we are a nature-inspired curriculum. We do spend extended periods outside, and we do the mud play and the wet sand play and all that. And yet we're very San Antonio. We just had our Fiesta Parade that we hadn't had since 2020. And honestly, there were more parents and grandparents and relatives there than the children, because it was like, this is the real Fiesta Parade. So Sandy, any other family traditions or things that stand out for you?
I think just we do the family social every year that we try to early in the year bring the parents together. Again, it's an outdoor event. We do it on the playground for the classrooms. We used to do all the infant toddler classrooms together and all the preschool classrooms together, which stopped with the pandemic. And I think this year we do like a sister class, ones that had similar siblings together. And so there was a classroom on each playground. And I think that just gives the families time to be on the school grounds, talk with one another, get to know each other before the start of the school year.
Yeah. Well, and y'all have people come to the campus, right? Like Joe McDermott, the singer-songwriter, like he'll do.
Yeah. In fact, we just had Joe McDermott, our first Joe McDermott concert since the pandemic. And what we decided to do this year, we celebrated our 50th anniversary plus 1 year, because we couldn't during the pandemic. And it was a free event. And we did that in September. And we had a food truck here and things like that. And the families were so excited that we decided this year that it was May 5th. We had, it was Cinco de Mayo, but that wasn't necessarily our focus. It was also Friendship Day on the Presbyterian calendar. And so it was a gathering of family and friends, Joe McDermott singing. We had a food truck here and activities for the children. So anytime we have a special event, whether it's during the school hours, Miss Anastasia, the storyteller, comes, and parents or family members that have careers, maybe there's an architect or a geologist or things like that. Other families, if they're not enrolled on that day, as long as they come with an adult, the child can visit. And so a lot of families do join in the events because of our schedules. They vary from 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So a family, often comes and brings their child. We're very fortunate that the children's librarian from Landa Library, which is a beautiful campus, she's right across the street, and she comes and reads to our classes every month. Each individual class, it's a chunk of her morning. But so we bring in special events rather than going on field trips. We don't have a van. We really don't want to transport children. And the other unique feature that we have is that we're able to visit once again the Trinity campus. And so the children take extended nature walks. Even our babies in their big cart and stroller, they go visit the Trinity campus as well. And we have our background noise too, because we're still open. So Sandy's ignoring that pretty well with that. So instead of going places, we bring in people and special events.
Yeah. No, it's a wonderful community, and people get to know each other. Parenting can be Cindy, you mentioned parenting it's one of the hardest things that we do, and it can be lonely. But then if you can meet like-minded families who are on this journey, trying to do some of the same things we are, then it makes the journey so much better.
Yeah. And what I love is our families come through the school, but they don't all go to the same neighborhood school. They're going to the charter schools. They're going to the public,
The
magnet
choice schools and
schools,
SASD, yeah.
the private schools, the public schools, and yet they come back together. And so as an example, my son, who's now 31, he grew up here, of course, and his childhood favorite friend in our infant room was 9 months older. And they went through UPCC together, and then they went off to their separate elementary schools and high schools and even colleges, but they called each other whole friends, WHOLE, whole life friends. And the link for me was the other parent, the mom. She was my, I would reach out when life was frustrating. So it's that community you build here and take with you into the future.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, well, I always want to give Jess a chance to tell stories. Like we've covered, like you can do 2 days a week or 5 days, right? We've covered the nuts and bolts, but those stories, you've already shared so many great stories. But do y'all have additional stories that you feel like just demonstrate what the school culture is like? That's beautiful about your son and his whole life friend.
Yeah, whole life friend. Sandy, do you have one you want to chime in with, or?
I'm trying to think if there's anything that I can think of.
Wait, is room 7, are they still the frogs? Is that?
No, they are the trees of Texas. We kind of went to more nature classroom names, and they stick with it. So room 7 is now and for I don't know how long, but they'll be the trees of Texas.
Yeah.
I would say, as far as kind of just piggybacking on Cindy's, where they kind of go away and come back, is, how we've implemented the school age program and seeing how the kids come back, and they want to come back because they want to see their friends that they had here at UPCC, or because they had so much fun last summer. They want to come back, and do this activity again. And so that's been really fun and neat to see. And I think it's a value for the parents as well, being able to come back to the space that they grew up in and knowing their children can be here again for the summer for continual years, I think has been really neat to see.
And what's been fun for me, and it's going to happen to Sandy in the future. I don't know that she's had it yet, but some of the children I taught back in the 80s are now parents in the program. And there's just something special of remembering the child and then seeing them as now parents, and then seeing their child and seeing some similarities, and then having the grandparents come back and they'll go, "You haven't changed, but I have," and it's, but you can still hear their voice. And so I know Sandy has been here 25, 6 something years, and she'll experience that soon. But there's that specialness. But then that so and so grew up here, but they're sending me because they told me about your program. It's that referring through the word of mouth is so important. So you build connections with people.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, well, I want to make sure that we give folks. I hope people are intrigued and curious and want to learn more about UPCC. And so I want to. I've got my little banners ready to put up on the screen. But if y'all can kind of describe, what are the best ways for for families to get in touch with the program. Like Cindy, you mentioned about when you schedule tours, you try to do it during times when the kids are outside so they can see that most distinctive part of the program, which is, the outdoor play and the nature play.
Yes. And so you can call or you can go to the church website and go to the link. There's a drop-down tab that'll have the Children's Center, and there's a form you can fill out and the email will come to me. But whatever works best, for you, but you can also email me at childrenscenter@upcsa.org. And if you go to the church website, my email will be there. And we are doing tours by appointment. It's just made a huge world of difference. Inga, when you came, I think you just popped in. And if somebody does that, we're not going to send you away. But yes, call us or email or go on the website. And there's the email.
Yeah, so I'm gonna a few people listen only on the podcast and they don't have the visuals, so I'm just gonna read things out loud for the podcast folks. So the email, it was childrencenter@upcsa.org, right?
Yes.
And then so if folks go to upcsa.org, they can find the drop-down menu for the Children's Center, or you can type in /about-UPCC. And the phone number, it's 210-734-3035. The good old 7-3 numbers for Monte Vista, right?
Yes.
It's like, I'm so old. I remember when San Antonio was in the 512 area code, right? And then
I do too. Yes.
all the Monte Vista numbers were 7-3. All the Alamo Heights numbers were 8-2. Anyway,
Yes.
I'm dating myself. But yeah, and then the location, like Cindy said, it's right across the street from the Landa Library, which is beautiful, and the campus backs up to the Trinity University campus, which is, hilly with oaks and
Yes.
limestone cliffs, and yeah, what a great place for the kids to get to explore.
Yes, for sure. There's even a pond that has pollywogs, or the tadpoles.
I think another way, Inga, is they can find us on Facebook. Cindy, there's lots of posts that they can, if they want to just know about the program, there's lots of photos. Usually the events get put on there and things like that too.
Yeah, I agree. You guys do a great job updating the social media, and it gives like a window into the school culture and what activities. So yeah, so on Facebook, I checked, it's UP Children's Center. And then there's also Instagram. So it's UP_children's_center_SA.
Yes.
Yes, it's a mouthful, but no, but the pictures are great, and it's fun. It's fun for me because it brings back memories of, and let's see, like I'm going to put it back up on screen because I love it. Like seeing how the playground has evolved. Like, I mean, it was already a wonderful place, and my kids they had a lot of really good times out there, but just to see how much it's improved, because of just kind of like new thinking about, there's like kids are around technology so much. And so if they can come to UPCC and have so much outdoor playtime, it's going to give them a really good foundation. Okay. All right. Well, it's been great talking to you guys.
Yes.
And
reconnecting with you, Inga.
Yeah. I'm just so happy. UPCC is just a really thriving place. And and I guess pro tip, I had a family friend told me to get on the waiting list. And especially if you're looking for a spot for a younger child, like the 2 months to 3 years, even if you don't want to put your child in preschool right away, like, get on the waiting list, because it's a great program, and those spots fill up, especially for young kids.
Yes, and we've already started a list for infants for 2024, 25. So, it's not ever too early with that. So, yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.